I'm Senator Lola Shiru. By the leave of Senate, the Deputy Leader of the Senate. Your Excellency, I am coming under Order 41 and 51 to inform officially that the recent incident of insecurity in my senatorial district is abating gradually, and to express the gratitude of my senatorial district to His Excellency, the President of Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and to further elucidate or point out at some salient security issues we still have in the senatorial district and in Nigeria in totality. These I've previously discussed with His Excellency, and with your permission, I think if you allow me to read my motion, I'll be exceedingly happy and grateful to you, sir.
You are going under?
Under 41, 51.
Under 41?
Yes.
Read out the order.
Under 41, the matter for discussion shall, if possible, refer to the President of Senate before the commencement of the day's sitting, and the President of Senate shall refuse to allow the claim unless he is satisfied that the matter is definite and urgent. 51. Notice shall not be dispensed with in the case of a motion or in the respect of any other proceeding for which notice is required, except with the consent of President of Senate and the general assent of the Senate President.
Distinguished colleagues be allowed to proceed with this motion. Those in support say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. We proceed.
On generality of insecurity in Nigeria, especially the northern side. And like I said, when we talk of northern side, we might be a little bit economical about the truth because it's affecting a greater part of southwest and southern states too. Mr. President, urgent need to address escalating insecurity in Kwara, Kebbi, and Niger states called for immediate and comprehensive federal intervention. The Senate, deeply disturbed by the horrific attack on Christ Apostolic Church, Eruku, in Ekiti local government area of Kwara State on November 18, 2025, during which heavily armed assailants invaded a place of worship, killed 2 innocent worshippers, and abducted 38 persons, all of whom, by the grace of Almighty God, by leave of our President, have since been freed following coordinated security operations. Note with grave concern that the attack compelled school closures in 5 local government areas in Kwara State: Ekiti, Isin, Irekpodun, Ifelodun, and Okero, all in Kwara South, across the entire Niger and Kebbi State, and in all the 47 federal unity schools nationwide, thereby disrupting the education of thousands of children and exposing the death of national trauma and fear. Alarmed that this incident formed part of worsening national pattern, including the recent kidnapping of school children in Kebbi and Niger State, demonstrating the acute vulnerability of schools and worship centers across Nigeria to terrorist and bandit attacks. Further concerned that credible reports indicate military personnel were withdrawn from affected Kebbi school just hours before the bandit struck, raising grave questions that demand transparent and urgent investigation. Disturbed that intelligence reports revealed the involvement of internal collaborators, often driven by economic and political desperation, who aid criminal groups with information, logistics, and escape routes, thereby exacerbating national insecurity. Aware that attackers demonstrate increasing sophistication by intercepting communications, conducting surveillance on schools, worship centers, and markets, and scavenging personal items after raids across multiple states. Observe that criminals continue to exploit porous forest corridors, including the Kwara-Kogi axis, Kebbi-Zamfara corridor, and Niger State, Shiruru, Rafim, Muniya region, complicating security missions and interstate security coordination. Further note that the affected communities of Eruku, Isakpa-Koro, where a traditional leader and a retired army general was brutally murdered by bandits, are predominantly Ekiti, with affinity to other Ekiti of Southwest, but geographically located in Kwara State. And observe with concern that information has it that urgent activities are now spreading into Osun State, signaling a dangerous expansion of security crisis. Also notes that Idofio Muara, Eruku, Kwara State, Stroke Egbe, and Kaba in Kogi State, Federal Highway remain in severe disrepair, enabling criminals to ambush travelers and escape after attacks and exploit footpaths for concealment. Further concerned that Kwara South alone has recorded over 40 abductions in the last 18 months, mirrors similar surge in neighboring states and contributing to a broader national crisis affecting schools, farms, worship centers, and rural communities. Worry that continued inaction risks mass displacement, prolonged school closures, collapse of rural livelihoods, and long-term psychological trauma among children and vulnerable populations. Commends President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for his exemplary leadership and swift response to Eruku, Kebbi, and Niger attacks, particularly his decision to cancel his scheduled foreign trips in order to personally coordinate and oversee security efforts at home, demonstrating his commitment to the safety and well-being of Nigerian citizens and the federal government's ongoing efforts and resource development to address insecurity in affected areas, which has led to the release of 51 students in Niger State and all the 338 abducted worshippers in Kwara State. Acknowledges the courage, unity, and resilience of people of Kwara South, particularly Ekiti people, especially the local vigilante, and similarly recognizes the resilience of communities in Kebbi and Niger State. The Senate therefore resolves to 1, call on communities in Kwara, Kebbi, Niger, and across Nigeria to remain united, vigilant, and supportive of security efforts while resisting internal collaborators who undermine national security. 2, commend President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and security agencies for their rapid intervention and urge them to sustain coordinated operations until all abducted persons nationwide are rescued and perpetrators apprehended. All the Federal Ministry of Works to commence immediate reconstruction of Itofi-Umuaran, Iruku, Egbe, Kaba axis, Federal Highway axis. 4, mandate the Nigerian Army, Police, DSS, and Defense Intelligence Bureau to intensify intelligence-driven operations, including area surveillance, forest combing, cross-state collaborations, and community-based intelligence system across Kwara, Kogi, Kebbi, Niger, and other hotspots in Nigeria. 5, call for establishment of a joint task force covering the Kwara-Kogi corridor with 4 operating bases in Eruku, Babanla, Okero, and Isandu. 6, direct the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and NEMA to provide immediate relief support to traumatized families and affected communities, especially where schools have been shut down. 7, mandate the Senate to investigate the root causes of rising insecurity and the role of internal collaborators and report back within 14 days. 8, advise the federal government to strengthen the local vigilante to be able to respond swiftly to similar attack in future. This should also include a review of Nigerian firearm law to reflect the current security challenges as we have in over 175 countries where responsible citizens are permitted to own guns. 9, mandate the Senate to investigate the sudden withdrawal of military personnel from the Kebbi school shortly before the bandits' invasion and report back urgently. 10, resolve that the Senate undertake a diplomatic engagement with the United States of America and other allied nations' parliaments to strengthen cooperations on intelligence sharing, counter-terrorism training, and technological support in addressing Nigerian security challenges. Yes. Observe a 2-minute silence for the memory of departed souls. I so submit, Your Excellency.
Deputy Senate President.
I stand to second the motion that's ably presented by Senator Ashiru Oyolola Yisa, Deputy Leader of the Senate. Mr. President, we can clearly observe that the rate of kidnappings and banditry activities increased all over the country just after President Trump made a statement about the possibility of the United States.
President who?
President Trump of the United States. Of the United States.
Yes.
Made a statement showing his intention, the intention of his country to intervene militarily because of...
Tell Senator Mustafa not to interrupt you.
I'm protected.
He said, I'm not looking at that side. I'm seeing everywhere. I only wanted you to clarify who was Trump. So anybody can bear Trump.
Okay.
And you can even be a president of a tennis club. So that's why I said president what?
Yeah.
And which country, and then you clarify it.
Exactly. So since he made that statement, showing the possibility of the United States to intervene militarily here in order to deal with the perceived notion that there's a genocide of Christians in Nigeria. Since then, the spate of these terrorist activities have increased in this country, which shows that those who are into this heinous crime do not love our country. They don't love our country. So they want to propel that intention of the United States, but they shall never succeed. Mr. President, we are facing challenges as a nation. We have faced several challenges before now. Before now, of course, it was the issue of armed robbery. Armed robbery everywhere in this country. But we're able to deal with that problem. And we shall also, by grace of God, deal with this problem where we no longer hear about these heinous crimes being, committed on our land. Before now, it was difficult for you to travel along our road networks without being attacked by armed robbers. But we're able to deal with this problem when the deployment of technology came in, and then we had a cashless policy in line with international best practices. That has stopped. Not even that. Recently, we're faced with COVID-19. We're able to deal with the problem. The United States, that is best put in place in terms of military power in the whole world, had a similar problem when it was attacked by terrorists. Thousands were killed. But they were able to deal with their problem within the United States and even had assistance from all over the world. They were assisted. Now, what do we do in this situation? What we need to do in this situation is to look inwards and try to deal with our problem. This problem is surmountable, and we shall surmount the problem by the collective zeal of the Nigerian people. How do we do this? Bring in the efforts of everyone. The issue of security is a security for all. It's something that is for all of us. It doesn't reside on the shoulders of the federal government alone, nor the state governments, nor the local governments. Everybody has to come together. We need to come together by way of making sure that, now, as we speak, the state governments are having a wonderful time making more money, right? Also, the local governments. So we need to come together, harness what is necessary, what is important for us to achieve our aim of eliminating this issue of insecurity, so that, for instance, every state of the federation, because these problems, the route used by the terrorists are interconnected from one state to the other. So if for instance, we decide to deal with the problem in one state alone, that will not produce the necessary result. So all the states must be doing the same thing at the right time, at the same time. Deploy technology by way of making sure, because everybody knows that by the time you have surveillance, drones and what have you, you'll be able to see these people that move in convoy. They move in convoy to commit these atrocities. So we should deploy technology and have our men trained, because the military is doing its best. We know they are doing their best, but we need to come together and help them. So every state should be able to secure its own area by way of collaborating with the military, with all the security agencies. We should be able to do that all over the country. And when we're able to do that, I think we can find a solution to this problem. Leaving the matter alone for federal government will not work. As I said earlier, the United States, when it got into problem, everybody came on board. Even foreign countries came to assist the United States. That was the United States for you, but the number one military power in the world. So we should also seek assistance from overseas, from our partners, from our allies, so that we can put our efforts together and deal with this problem. It's surmountable. Mr. President, we need to begin now. We need to touch all those, in fact, even, business corporations, high net worth individuals. I'll give an example, Mr. President. In the 9th Senate, I was approached by the DG of a security agency. I will not name that agency. He told me there was the need for them to have a surveillance of a city, a very, very key city in this country. I will not name the city for security concern. And he said they submitted their budget, but they could not have funding for that project because of a positive funds. That he felt, instead of going to Mr. President, I should see how I can assist. I said, well, no problem. How much do you need? He told me the amount. I said, we cannot provide all what you need in 1 year. He said, yeah, it's okay, because this project is a big one. It should be phased. So I provided money for the project for year 1, year 2, and year 3, and the project was concluded. Now, in that city, wherever you go, whatever you do, you are safe. Even if you are related on the street, they watch you, they know what you are doing. So, I did that. So, by the time you touch all the state governments, they can also do this kind of arrangement in their states, with collaboration of the security agencies, the military, and so on and so forth. So, it should be a collective effort. If you deal with the problem here and you don't deal with the other side, they will run from one end to the other. So, Mr. President, it's something that is doable. We should do it so that we can secure our country. I say so, Mr. President.
Mr. President, I'm very distinguished senators of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Mr. President, there comes a time in the life of every nation, organization, or individual when you come to a decision that first you recognize that this is a turning point, and 2, that it must not be business as usual. Mr. President, the events of the last 2 weeks in our country with respect to insecurity have further shown that on both sides, something needs to be done. On the side of government, we have seen increased efforts at trying to combat these insecurity challenges headlong, while on the part of the Nigerian people, we have also seen concerned positions. We have seen frustration. We have seen well-founded fear that unless something is done urgently, we may be losing it as a nation. Yet we must not. Mr. President, as a parliament, we are not unaware of the efforts of the federal government in moving so swiftly to secure the lives of those who were kidnapped. In fact, we have witnessed an unusual situation at the level of recovery. While those were happening, we're also being told of different narratives. But what is important is that a lot of people kidnapped, at least from Kwara through Kebbi to Niger, a lot of them have regained their freedom. At what cost is what a lot of Nigerians are wondering. Some Nigerians have said government negotiated to get them out. Those are facts that only the people in charge of our security can be able to confirm. But one thing that we have also witnessed and recognized as an official position of government is that government has not been paying ransom. What is good news about this, that no one can run away from, is the fact that these people regained their freedom without a life being lost. However, while Nigerians are celebrating the fact that no life was lost on the side of those who were kept in captivity and who regained their freedom, Nigerians are not smiling at the fact that they did not read or hear about lives being lost on the part of those who took them into captivity. In other words, some Nigerians have argued, show us that a bullet was shot to regain this freedom. But we are not insisting on one style or approach. Government has always said, and it is said all over the world, that you combine both kinetic and non-kinetic approaches to address this issue. But what is important today is the fact that we are not dealing with a conventional war situation. As of 2015, we had these terrorists posting their banners in certain, more than a few local government areas in our country, including the local government of the distinguished Chief Whip, Senator Mongono in Borno State. But today, it is also an achievement on the part of government that no territory in our country is under the custody or leadership or control of these terrorists. However, it does not mean that the war has ended. What we have witnessed is a shift in strategy and style. There is no army anywhere today as a standing army to be confronted by our military, positioned at one place or hoisting their flag anywhere. But they have gone underground and they are operating as cells. So what this means is that because it's no longer a conventional warfare, there's also the need for us to continue to adopt styles that will make it easier for our military to engage, these people. And I also want to appeal to our colleagues in the parliament, both at the federal level and at the state level, that this is not the time to grandstand. It's about security of lives and property. I witnessed some of the debate by some of our colleagues on the floor of the House of Representatives yesterday. And one of them was specifically calling on this National Assembly to shut down. As far as I'm concerned, a call for the National Assembly to shut itself down because of this insecurity situation is a call for abdication of our constitutional roles. We're part of this government, and we did not start this problem. Both the executive arm and the legislative arm of government, as it is, inherited this insecurity problem. But that must not be an excuse. We must deal with the problem, and I'm happy all hands are on deck in both the executive and the legislative arm. This Senate set up an ad hoc committee on National Security Summit, partly to address some of these issues. But today, the motion raised by the deputy leader in some of the prayers also raised certain issues. Some of the issues raised will require specific investigation. Part of my own suggestion, Mr. President, will be by the time all our colleagues would have contributed and we are taking our decisions, let us engage all our committees, security-related committees, the Senate Committee on Defense, on Army, on Air Force, and on national security, even interior, should come to, and special duties, should come together and conduct a joint investigation into some of the issues raised in this motion. What happened in Kebbi? Was it true that soldiers were withdrawn just hours before the attack, and some other specific issues? I think they need to be looked into, they need to be investigated. You know, however, I also feel that if we are calling on the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces to rejig the security architecture of the country, which has become necessary and which a lot of Nigerians are also clamoring for, I feel that it's important in-house for us as a Senate to even look into our own arrangement. As a senator and as a principal officer, I am not impressed, for instance, with the performance of the Senate Committee on Security and Intelligence. And I feel that that's an area that we need to look into. Some of the motions that the single senators are bringing, some of the concerns being expressed by some of our colleagues are things that I believe our Committee on Security and Intelligence could have been, on top of. So at this point, I think that should be part of our own starting point, to even look inward and see in what areas we can do the rejigging ourselves to give us the credibility to keep calling on the executive arm of government to rejig our security architecture. I thank you so much, sir.
North Senatorial District. Mr. President, first and foremost, I wish to associate myself with the submissions made by the previous speakers, especially the one that commends Mr. President for acting swiftly that led to the immediate recovery of the kidnapped Nigerians, as opposed to the protracted and lingering approach when the ugly scenario of the kidnapping of Chibok school girls occurred that led to the fact that up to now, some of the Chibok school girls were not recovered. Mr. President needs to be commended for acting swiftly that brought about the immediate recovery of these kidnapped Nigerians. Then, Mr. President, I equally wish to commend Mr. President for ordering the withdrawal of police escort attached to BIPs. Mr. President, I also have 4 policemen attached to me in my house. Mr. President, as it is now, majority of our policemen are attached to BIPs, thereby depriving the Nigerian police of performing their main role of policing the country. So this order by Mr. President will go a long way in freeing the police to perform one of their primary constitutional functions of policing the country. Because as it is now, even the ratio that is recommended for policing by the United Nations, we cannot meet it. Then the second one is to call upon, maybe when it comes to the prayer, I will add an additional prayer for more recruitment into the Nigerian police force, in addition to the withdrawal. Because security is a primacy of governance. The social contract that the people had with the government is for the people to surrender their sovereignty to government and in return expect that their lives and property will be protected. So that is the primacy of governance. And if we can debate this issue of security for the whole day, we are doing the right thing, because that is the essence of governance. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Aliyu M. Wamako remains my name, so to know. Mr. President, I move to, I would like to this motion moved by Senator Ashuru in entirety, including the press then. Friend, this motion cannot come at a better time than now, with challenges left and right on both sides of this nation. I think the motion is more timely and therefore deserves to be endorsed by all assembly. Mr. President, the memo has beautifully captured all the problems and challenges. But Mr. President, we are never short of such beautiful write-ups. What is required most is, Mr. President, what action or actions are we taking to address these challenges in our country? Mr. President, instead of rescuing the abducted, why can't we be capturing the bandit and their team leaders and so on and so on? I think that should be what we should be after, not merely rescuing the abducted. It's a country, it's a nation. Mr. President, instead of repelling, we should be pursuing this bandit in the hideout whereby they are and get them, bring them to order. Mr. President, we have heard so much on this narrative all over this in the 8th, 9th, and in the 10th Senate now. It is time now to act. We have spoken enough. We have said enough. And the nation has been watching us as their representatives. What are we going to do next? I'm glad in the prayer number 10, he asked for a special committee to review and advise the Senate, but the time given to us is too short. Mr. President, I want let it be 4 weeks for this committee to report back to Senate what can be better done. Mr. President, I happen to be one of the security committees in the 9th Senate, and I can see the gadget available in most of the senior security heads. They can watch in the offices the comfort of all the forests in this country. What is missing then? Why can't we make effort to take this forest one by one and come down and get them finished, that the nation can have peace? Mr. President, I very much believe that we can do it, and we must do it. Finally, Mr. President, I'm afraid I have to disagree with the idea of withdrawing police aids to BIPs. That is going to present another danger, because the BIPs are going to be next target, and the government will come back and revert the policy. Instead, Mr. President, the number of military attached to retired generals, there are too many. Let's do something there as well. Not only the BIPs, because they're also BIPs. President, like I said earlier, we need to get our act together and see what best can be done to secure our country. Our people have suffered a lot, and they are still suffering. We are living under fear. And action in the last few days is even increasing that fear. Those of our schools, boarding school, it doesn't make good image of us. We should not submit to this bandit. Instead, they should submit to the power of government and governance. Mr. President, I so submit. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, my name remains Abamoro. Mr. President, I want to thank my colleague, Deputy Leader of the Senate, for bringing up this motion, which I think very timely and very apt. And Mr. President, it is a little scary here that one community after the other, or one state after the other, continues to come under the hammer of bandits. Mr. President, if you look at what we have here, the narratives and the prayers, they appear to be recurring decimal. It has always been calling on security agencies to intervene and to prevent. But as has been noted, Mr. President, we've discovered time without number that our security agencies and agents react to these situations, attempt to rescue abducted victims, and sometimes you never hear anything again until another abduction occurs, and then we begin to hear stories of efforts to rescue them, sometimes bordering on negotiated ransoms and the rest of them. Mr. President, some of these tactics are becoming increasingly obviously counterproductive because it would appear as if perceived or real payment of ransom embolden these bandits to continue in their exploits. And so, Mr. President, I think that the time has come, like the leader has said, for this country to develop a comprehensive security policy that seeks to prevent these acts of banditry and kidnapping rather than reacting to situations where our people and communities have been affected. Mr. President, like I said, here it is Kwara, it is Kebbi, it is Niger States. But of course, we will not forget in a hurry the historic outcry at the killing of over 200 citizens of Yelwata in Benue State. We will not forget in a hurry also, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the killings in Okwamaju in Otukpo local government, Umogidi in Otukpo local government, Ikobi and Ubobi in Apa local government, and of course, Ojantele and other communities of Apa and Agatu local government. So, Mr. President, I think that the time has come when we must sit down together to realistically review our tactics in view of the increasing wave of banditry and kidnapping in this country. And I'm happy to note that it couldn't have come at a better time that the National Assembly, the 10th Senate, for instance, has initiated an ad hoc committee to comprehensively review the security situations across the country with a view to collating information and ideas from Nigerians as to what specific problems, unique problems that communities have across the country, and of course, to come up with a comprehensive recommendation that will inform a comprehensive and of course an effective national policy on security. And so, Mr. President, while we are doing this, I think remedial actions must be taken by our security agencies to at least redirect the narrative of this insecurity across the country to save the lives and the property of Nigerians. Thank you, Mr. President. I so submit.
You have spoken on behalf of the Senate, and by implication, you have spoken on behalf of Nigerians. We are, even as I speak now, we are still facing the attacks. This is orchestrated, this is organized, and this is meant to damage the image of democracy. And all these things started with just a tweet from President Trump. People are trying to justify or call on the American president to come here and attack people. And they started by talking about religious genocide. I want you to understand that when it rains, it does not rain on only one roof. Any issue about war, all sides will suffer. So when somebody is talking about it, then you know very well that there is nothing like targeted Muslims or targeted Christians. The bullets that are being sprayed will not distinguish who is a Muslim and who is a Christian. I want you to understand that. If we have miscreants who are going after Christians, then we go after them. We have miscreants who are killing Muslims, we go after them. Nigeria is a multifaceted religious country. We cannot come here and try to say, oh, one group is being attacked, the other group is not being attacked. What we are seeing here is an attack on all religions. It's an attack on all citizens of the country. It's an attack on the democracy of our country. It's an attack on Nigerian citizens. It's an attack on Nigerian government. So we must rise up to the occasion, debate and point out the reality. Let the world know that we want to be safe. How can we as a country choose insecurity? We cannot. And we cannot choose fear over peace. We cannot choose despair. So when we are discussing, we must take a very strong exception to certain acts that have happened, whether it's from the security agencies or otherwise. But when somebody says, commend the president for even the initiative of ensuring the release of over 58 children, one child that is released is a big relief to the whole country and to that family. 58 is something we should commend. And then at the same time, you're encouraging him to go after others. He has canceled all engagements. He's sitting down now and tackling on a daily basis. Even yesterday night, he met with security chiefs up to 4 hours to see how he can bring this situation to an end. And Nigeria is very vast. And these people are moving around, going after soft targets. So let us, and like Senator Garba said, he said in their communities in Kebbi State, that they know the bandits, they know where they stay, and they know what they want. And they are mingling with people, and that even some of the local government authorities are negotiating with them and paying them money. So these are things we must bring out and then forward to the executive. Let the executive also join us to find solutions. Even the security agencies must also know that even the locals know these people, and they can work with the locals to fish these people out. It's a very serious issue. It's not something that we trivialize and try to say this side or that side. That's the only problem. There's no side. There's only one side on this issue of security. Only one side. Only one side. Senator Oshmole. The prayers are multifaceted. What is happening internationally also affects us here. This renewed strength of the insurgents is as a result of the statement by the President of America that he will come in and strike to remove them. So what they are doing is also very political. They want to see how they can cause as much insecurity as possible so that it will encourage America to come in and then remove the government for them. Because as far as they are concerned, what they want is government. They are not interested in the lives of the people. So as we are speaking here, we should realize that removal of government affects, in quote, both sides. I don't like to use the word both sides. So people should not think that there's any side to insecurity. There's only one side. And that side is the protection of Nigerians. And the second aspect is that we must rise up collectively behind the leadership of the country. The president must be encouraged. We must rally around the president to do his best to minimize and stamp out insecurity and make Nigerians to sleep well. You can see in a day, you can have up to 4 or 5 of these things. I just mentioned that even yesterday night. So it's not something that the same community that those children were returned, they've gone there to go and kidnap 11 people, including a pregnant woman. So we must realize that we are under attack. We are under attack. And so we can't feel safe here. To remove withdrawal of policemen, yes, for certain VIPs, they could be replaced with the civil defense. They are still armed, but not police. Police must go back to their constitutional duties immediately, while we encourage them to train more. So, distinguished Senator Yaya, I don't know whether you have anything to add, so that we can round up and go into...
Thank you, Mr. President. Let me use this opportunity, sir, to say that in my constituency 2 days ago, too, 12 girls have been abducted up to now. We don't know their whereabouts.
In your constituency?
In my constituency in Huyum, 13 of them were abducted. One...
You amended the motion, don't forget.
Yeah, I've amended the motion already.
But now you are narrating.
We said defense and army. The amendment
so
is...
the amendment
is that... No, we said army, defense and army. We said mandate the committees on defense and army to investigate the sudden withdrawal of military personnel from the KB school shortly before the bandits' invasion and report back urgently. That is the amendment.
Yes, Seconder. All our security-related committees. So allowing all security-related committees or allowing 2 committees, those in support of all related security committees of the Senate to go into this investigation and report back to the Senate in 2 weeks. Say aye. Those against say nay. Well, the ayes have it. Allowing only 2 committees to investigate and report back to the Senate in 2 weeks. Those in support say aye. Those against say nay. So it means that they're allowing the Senate committee, all the committees related with security-related committees, is much more appealing to the Senate. Therefore, the Senate hereby mandates the Senate Committee on Defense, the Senate Committee on Army, the Senate Committee on Air Force, the Senate Committee on National Security and Intelligence, the Senate Committee on Interior, Special Duties, Navy has been mentioned, and Police Affairs to come together, investigate that particular issue relating to the death of Brigadier General Oba and report back to the Senate in 2 weeks. Is that the view of the Senate? And oh yeah, sorry. The withdrawal of the soldiers from the school that they had credible intelligence on, and come back to tell us they should go into a holistic investigation of how the amendment of... We have put the question and it has been carried. You can only have additional prayers. Show me the... Distinguished colleagues, the committees on our joint committees on security-related matters in the Senate will investigate the circumstances leading to the withdrawal of soldiers from the school in Kebbi few minutes before the bandits struck, and the bandits had a field day for over 2 hours to operate, even when there was credible intelligence. Therefore, the Senate wants to get into the root of it. And so all these related committees are to go into the matter and then report back to the Senate in 2 weeks. Distinguished Senator Nengi has also moved a motion that the circumstances surrounding the death of Brigadier General Oba who also made a passionate call, but unfortunately, his position was given away through electronic media that led to the bandits killing him. That should be added to this committee to investigate and bring back. So 2 major issues that worry us. And their recommendations to be taken very seriously. Those in support that this, the death of General Oba and the circumstances surrounding his death, be added to the committee for investigation. Say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Now, the lead committee, before the additional prayer, the lead committee on this that will chair will be the Committee on Defense. And the issue is very serious. Sorry, Senator Yaradua, I didn't call you. Are you approaching the chair? We just noticed that you just came. Prayer 10. Resolve that the Senate undertakes a diplomatic engagement with the United States of America and other allied nations' parliaments to strengthen cooperation on intelligence sharing, counter-terrorism training, and technological support in addressing Nigeria's security challenges. Those in support of prayer 10 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 11, observe a 2-minute silence in memory of the departed souls of the amendment. Yes. Amendment, Senator Ani.
Thank you, Mr. President.
A veteran of the Senate has given us guidance that once a additional prayer is made and seconded, that a question must be put by the presiding officer, and that any other thing that comes should come by a further additional prayer. So, distinguished Senator Ndume, I put the question, thereafter I come back to you. Those in support of the prayers proposed by the Senate leader, 1, that this Senate stands shoulder to shoulder with the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria in his determination to minimize and eradicate insecurity and fight the insurgents headlong to ensure the safety and security of lives and properties of Nigerians on the one hand. And secondly, he should further that the Senate hereby calls on him to further rejig his security architecture for optimal results. Those in support of the 2 motions as additional prayers say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The 2 are carried. Clerk of the Senate, ensure that these things are well itemized for us to hand over to Mr. President as a candid opinion and the submission of the Nigerian Senate, which is done in the best interest of the nation. We are not interested in looking at anybody's face. We are interested in what can assist the president and what can assist Nigerians to sleep well. So I thank you all. No, first, Senator Ndume. Yeah, Senator Ndume is senior to you.
Wanted has already been overtaken by event because the gavel is down. But all I wanted to say was that it is our responsibility and to note that recently we screened the service chiefs. That is the rejigging of the leadership, where the president, after seeing what is happening, felt that the leadership of the armed forces should be changed. So I don't understand what the Senate is now saying, sending the message to Mr. President to do what again? To rejig the Senate leadership, the armed forces leadership, or to tell him, I agree with the first prayers, but the second one is my concern. The president needs to be supported by this Senate, even if we have to look for money to equip the Nigerian armed forces, because we can't run away from the fact that the Nigerian armed forces and other security agencies lack the equipment they need in order to execute this assignment.
The swing Senate are noted. Any additional prayer? Senator Mustafa, I told you that Senator Nduma is senior to you, so now you have finished. No. It didn't start in your time. It started in Nduma's time. So you have the floor. You have the floor.
Mr. President, my name is Senator Abdul Ningi. My additional prayer has to do with the Senate leader. That you direct immediately the Senate leader to bring a proposed amendment to the Anti-Terrorist Act to include kidnapping as a terrorist act that will carry the maximum death sentence. That is my amendment. Direct the office.
Any seconder? Yes, Senator Adams.
My name is Adam Saliweri Kushumoli. I represent the great people of Edo North. I rise to second the motion that it should be so reflected in our appropriate legal system that the offense of kidnapping should carry death penalty for which no judge shall have power of any discretion. Laws by parliament in this case, because it is serious, it will not be up to any judge to sentence less than death penalty. And if you will indulge me, I will say also to urge governors to have the courage to uphold the letter of the Constitution, which says that offense that lead to murder carries death. And once the court pronounce death, governors shall proceed to sign the appropriate instrument for those death sentences to be carried out. Laws are made to be obeyed. He who swore to the Nigerian Constitution must obey it. That is why I signed death penalty when I was a governor. Some other governors refuse to sign, even though their agent may be wasting people under election tension.